All right, so we should have some audio now. Hi, are we here? I'm not sure we're live yet. I'll wait until it comes up. It seems we are. Just check my sound. Of course, we're going to get into... Yes, we're good. We're going to get into NeoVim. Now, quick background. I am a Drupal dev, a PHP dev, and look, I have a distaste for proprietary software. I've got a distaste for Microsoft. I don't like, what do you say? VS Code doesn't sit right. I don't want to pay a license for PHP Storm, and I've got experience using Vim. My fingers get the Vim key bindings down fine. But I've never taken the chance to dive into NeoVim, and now's the chance. So what I want to walk through here with you is what we need to know foundationally for setting up NeoVim before we go ahead and install LazyVim. Because what LazyVim will do, it will set up NeoVim for you as a full-fledged IDE. And we're going to go through the process of doing that as a PHP in a later course. This one is a foundation into NeoVim. So my experience was when diving straight into LazyVim, it did so many configs and set so many things up that it was great and easy to use and fun. But there was so much of that I didn't know what LazyVim had done and what NeoVim had done, and I wanted to get a bit of an understanding. So I'm going to start a series of this, and this is series episode 1 in that series, an introduction into NeoVim. We're going to install NeoVim, do some basic configuration, put a plugin, learn a bit of usage. I'll go into a little bit about how to navigate different modes in Vim. Mostly this is aimed at people that already know how to use Vim, but if not, we'll cover the basics as well and get an understanding of what NeoVim is and how it compares to LazyVim, so that in a follow-up series we can go and start setting up LazyVim and not be completely lost. So let's get on with that, shall we? I'm going to bring up my notes up here, and we can zoom over here. Just let me change this screen. What do we got? We gotta move which screen my. All right. So now if I type stuff, there we go. That's going to help. So now when I press letters on my keyboard, you'll be able to see those. You can see that I'm in Obsidian Notes right now, and already if I press J, it goes down. So that's the Vim bindings here in Obsidian. So let's go past this course outline, because I'm going to develop this into a course, but this is our introduction. What do we want to start with? Let's do a bit of an overview. We don't want to cover all this. We can skip all that. I have a repository for this course we're setting up. Let's do a comparison of LazyVim, PHP Storm, and VS Code and see why we're here. So why I choose LazyVim over a traditional IDE. It's different licensing cases here. Like LazyVim, it's fully open source, uses the MIT license versus JetBrains and PHP Storm being fully proprietary, and VS Code's got its own open source license. The philosophy for LazyVim and NeoVim is very minimal and terminal based. So a lot of advantages come from that. PHP Storm, it's a fully featured GUI IDE, and VS Code's a GUI IDE as well. NeoVim runs in your terminal, which means it's low resource usage. So that gives you things like you can run it in the server and stuff like that. So I'm going to be operating inside a Docker environment for this demo, and we'll actually install NeoVim inside the Docker environment and run it on the terminal and not have to run it on our host, which potentially makes things a lot easier, especially setting things up like Xdebug and stuff down the track. We'll see. And fully customizable. PStorm's got some customizations, and VS Code you can customize via extensions. But being open source, it's fully customizable. What's this? NeoVim with LazyVim is for developers who want full control over their development environment without the bloat of a GUI-based IDE. I'm still gonna zoom. Is that as far as I can zoom in this? I can't zoom any further. Ooh. All right. So, what have we got here? Performance and usage. I touched on this. One of the biggest advantages of LazyVim over PHP Storm and VS Code is performance. PHP Storm is a heavy IDE with high RAM and CPU usage, especially for large projects. VS Code is built on Electron, meaning it runs a full Chrome instance in the background, making it memory hungry. LazyVim/NeoVim right? Runs entirely in the terminal, consuming a fraction of the resources while remaining lightning fast. So if you're working on a low resource machine or remotely over SSH or want to run inside Docker, LazyVim is the clear winner here. Same thing, remote development, right? It's got SSH support. LazyVim supports it natively. It's a terminal-based application. PHP Storm's got remote development plugins, but they're slow and you've got to set them up and configure them. VSCode's got built-in SSH support, but it's still a GUI. Right? So imagine even in situations where you're working in the cloud and someone's got a VSCode, like you can run LazyVim and NeoVim in the terminal inside VSCode. So like, you can get it anywhere. I'm sure you could install it through that. Be worth doing a video and seeing if we can do something like that. So if you need to develop inside a Linux server via SSH, LazyVim is vastly superior to PHP Storm or VSCode, both of which require extra setup and struggle with latency. Accessibility, customization, we kind of covered that a little bit. You know, let's just move on for that. Let's cover this because I want to introduce LSPs and IntelliFence. So PHP and Drupal specific features. I'm a Drupal dev. If you're a PHP dev, you can follow along here. So PHP LSP, that's Language Server Protocol, right? It's installed via Mason. There's a Mason plugin for LazyVim that supports installing LSPs. PHP Storm's got PHP stuff built in. It's PHP Storm, and VS Code's got extensions for PHP. There's Drupal in LazyVim. There's this Drupal.vim plugin, which I haven't fully looked at yet. That's what we're going to move towards. You got Drupal plugins for PHP Storm and Drupal extensions in VS Code, debugging. You know, we got availability to you can actually use VS Code's PHP debug in LazyVim. So we're going to get to that down the track. We're not going to cover that in today's live. As I said, it's just a coverage of basic NeoVim features. Of course, costs and licensing. LazyVim's free with an MRT license that's fully open source versus PHP Storm being fully proprietary, and VS Code's use Microsoft's open core. But as we see here, we've got telemetry concerns with that. You know, you just got far more control and far more privacy available with LazyVim. So why choose LazyVim? You know, you got speed and performance. There's no unnecessary bloat. It runs fast even on old machines. Fully customizable. You've got full control over key bindings, plugins, workflow. Remote development works seamlessly over SSH and GUI, and it's fully open source. Why not choose it? And if you prefer a GUI and don't want to spend time customizing, well, that's more NeoVim. NeoVim, that's what it solves. The not spending time customizing, and that's what I'm here to go through and walk through today. If you want everything pre-configured like PHP Storm, if you need a deep GUI-based debugging tools. Now, I think LazyVim comes a long way to getting you to close to what the PHP Storm can do, but we're going to go along a bit at a time. So PHP Storm is costly, and VS Code just doesn't sit right. LazyVim brings the best of both worlds. It's lightweight, keyboard-driven efficiency of Vim, but with modern IDE features like LSP debugging and file navigation. So let's get into, we'll skip over this course a bit. So let's cover this. What is NeoVim? Introductory write-up. What is Vim? So let's get right to the basics. Vim is a highly configurable text editor built for efficiency. It's based on the Unix-based Vi editor, but includes enhancements that make it powerful for coding. Now, Vim operates in modal editing, meaning you switch between normal mode navigation, insert mode editing, and command mode executing commands. So developers love Vim because of its speed, keyboard-driven workflow, and extensive customization. Now, I'm going to cover all these a little bit for you. What normal mode, insert mode, and command mode and such is. We'll cover that here today. Let's move on to what's NeoVim then. So NeoVim is a modern fork of Vim, and it improves the extensibility, performance, and usability while it retains Vim's core philosophy. So it's got enhancements. It's added things like it's got language server protocols built in to make it interactive with your code base, much simpler. It's got native Lua scripting, making the configuration and plugins more modern. And we'll see a little bit of that. We'll demo a part of that as we move forward. Now, this is special asynchronous operations that prevents slowdowns when running tasks. I always found that with Vim. If you're in a terminal, you're in a terminal, and Vim stopped. this gives us synchronous operation, so we can open a terminal, for example, in Vim, run something like grep, and it'll run while we can jump back to another terminal and do something else. We can run things in the background in terminals. It's all asynchronous, which is great. LSPs in NeoVim. So let's get into these language server protocols. So what allows NeoVim to behave like a modern IDE, because it provides things like auto-completion, hover documentation, and go-to definitions. So it helps you navigate your code base just like you would in an IDE. So LSP is built into NeoVim, but it does require you to configure it for your language, right? In this course, we're not going to manually set up, because LazyVim does this for you automatically. So in our follow-up live streams, we're going to dig into LazyVim and get that configured there. But it's important that you know what this is it's important that you know that this is a key feature of NeoVim, so that we can discern what comes from LazyVim and what comes from NeoVim, what's in NeoVim out of the box, so to speak. So what's LazyVim? So LazyVim is a pre-configured NeoVim distribution. It says distribution, like what do? You install NeoVim and then you install LazyVim, and it goes and configures NeoVim for you. And I'll show you some of that. We'll get into that near the end. It's well-structured modular config. It's easy to extend. It's got LSPs pre-installed for auto-completion and debugging. So you can just go and say, hey, I want you to have an LSP for PHP turned on. Please, you turn it on. It comes, sets up for PHP. Enhanced navigation and searching with Telescope and NeoTree. Custom key bindings to streamline common tasks. So it installs a bunch of plugins for you to make your life easier. And it's got custom key bindings. So this is really why I want to get a sense for what NeoVim is out of the box before we dive straight into LazyVim. You can see, because it does things like install a bunch of plugins. Now, when you're learning the features of what LazyVim brought in, I think it's really helpful to know what is NeoVim specific and what is LazyVim, especially when it comes to troubleshooting and seeking support. You want to know what you're speaking to, because there's no point in posting such and such keystroke doesn't work in a NeoVim post if it's something that LazyVim set up. Make sense? So with LazyVim, you don't have to configure everything from scratch. It provides sensible defaults that can be customized. Now, we mentioned Drupal Vim earlier. So Drupal.vim is a set of Vim configurations, plugins, and scripts tailored for Drupal development and help PHP developers work with Drupal. So it provides Drupal-specific code snippets and templates. It does auto-completion for Drupal functions and hooks. It's project-aware searching, making it easier to navigate a Drupal site. It's got linting and formatting tools to keep your Drupal code clean. And it integrates quite well with LazyVim as well. So we'll get to that in a future live stream. How they work together: Vim is the base philosophy, keyboard-driven modal editing. NeoVim is an enhancement of Vim with modern features like the LSPs, asynchronous operations, and Lua-based customizations. So using Vim script, it uses Lua. And LazyVim pre-configures NeoVim with powerful defaults, plugin management, key bindings, IntelliFence, telemetry, what do we call that? What was that? We saw it here before. I'll forget about it. We mentioned Telescope. That's what I'm after. And Drupal Vim adds your Drupal-specific optimizations for PHP development. So we won't get to the Drupal stuff until way late. If you're not a Drupaler, that's fine. It's not going to come up for ages. But together, these tools create a powerful, efficient, and highly customizable IDE-like experience for PHP developers, any developer really. So let's get into it then. Right, we want to get into installing NeoVim. So I'm going to bring this off this screen over here. Whoops. And go, it's NeoVim time. All right. So here's a little environment I've got pre-set up where it's an Ubuntu box. So the first thing we're going to do is just install NeoVim. Pretty easily, we can install NeoVim with apt update apt install NeoVim. Bring these notes over for you, because if you're not on an Ubuntu machine, you can on Linux and Manjaro, which is what my host machine's on. We can just do yay -s NeoVim or Pacman. This is what we're using for our Ubuntu box. I think it's a Debian box actually. macOS, you can use Homebrew to install NeoVim. You can use Scoop or Chocolatey on Windows. I'm not a Windows guy. If you're a Windows guy, you understand that. I don't. And once installed, you can check what version we've got. So let's go ahead and install NeoVim. Off we go. And look at that, 29 megs to install NeoVim. Nothing much to it at all. And there we go. And now we can check what version we've got installed by typing NeoVim version. Okay, look, NVim 0.7.2. Great, and there's the Lua compiler built into it. Okay, so let's get rid of this over here. Wow, come on, full screen it. Okay. So what are the things you don't have to do in LazyVim? I'm going to bring my notes back over here again. And so as we go through setting up NeoVim, it's worth noting that LazyVim automates many of these steps for you. For example, manually installing and configuring plugins. So LazyVim doesn't just include a plugin manager, it automatically installs and configures a curated set of essential plugins on first launch and stores them in /local/share/nvim. So if you install LazyVim and you want to remove it, you can just go and delete your nvim config and delete this directory, and boom, LazyVim's completely uninstalled. Sets up your setting up your LSP manually. You don't have to do LazyVim. Installs and configures LSP servers for common languages automatically. And manually configuring key bindings. LazyVim comes with optimized key bindings for navigation, editing, and searching. So we'll cover these later in this series. So we're going to start with a base NeoVim. This is what we'll cover in LazyVim later on. So how LazyVim pre-configures the key bindings, how it enhances navigation, and what key bindings are different to stock NeoVim. Hence, coming back to why we want to understand NeoVim from scratch. For now, we're just going to focus on learning NeoVim in its default state. So when we move to LazyVim, the improvements will be really clear, and you'll have a great foundation and understanding. So let's get comfortable with NeoVim. Now that NeoVim's installed, let's take a moment to understand how it works. NeoVim follows Vim's modal editing philosophy, which means it has different modes for different tasks. Understanding these modes is essential before we start working with files and configurations. So let's open NeoVim for the first time. What happens? We just type nvim as a command, and there's nvim. And what you're going to see here, so when you start nvim, you'll see a welcome screen displaying the version number and some basic commands, which are down here. All right, so you've got help and check health and queue and help and stuff that you can run using the colon. If you don't know Vim, we'll explain how these colons work soon. And this means that NeoVim is running, oh, and you see this no name down here. And that means that NeoVim's running, but we haven't opened a file yet, hence no name, there's no file name to specify. So let's get into understanding modes, which come from both Vim and NeoVim. We're going to cover an overview of how NeoVim operates. All right, so you don't need to take any actions yet. We're just going to explain a few things before we move on. So NeoVim operates in different modes, each serving a specific purpose. You've got normal mode. So this is the mode that you start in. It's used for navigation and executing commands. So pressing most keys in this mode does not insert text, but instead runs commands. Right, so you can see while we're in here, I can press things like X and nothing happens. I can press K, nothing happens. L, right, we're not typing anything. The way we type something, press I, we go into insert mode. And now I can type, hey, I am in insert mode, right? And then press escape to go back into command mode where we can type things again, right? And nothing comes up. See the difference between, so again, if you're not clear, press I to go into insert mode, we can type stuff, press escape to go back to command mode where we can do things like move the cursor around and delete stuff, run all sorts of commands. But in insert mode we can type, we can move around in, so you press escape, press, got the idea? Just, if you're new to that, that's fine. Hopefully you understand a bit of Vim stuff already. And so in command mode, we can do things like save the file and quit. So say we just want to quit NeoVim completely, we can press escape to make sure we're in command mode, and then we can type a command, right? So press colon, this is explaining the colons. So if we go into command mode, press colon, we can type Q for quit, and then it's gone, no write since last change, right? It says we've written something to this file. So what we need to do in this case, because there's been we want to just lose our changes, we can force it by putting a exclamation mark, and then it quits. Right? Then we can go back, open NVim again. We're back to where we were. So let's go through an exercise of switching between these modes then. So first up, we're here in command mode, having first just opened a file, and now we could go into insert mode and type something like hello NeoVim. Boom. Okay. Now, to enter command mode, we'll exit insert mode by pressing escape, and then we can type a command such as what we just did. We can quit, right? Boom, and use the exclamation mark. Let's navigate a simple file. So now we want to work with some files. So I've got a Git repository that's got some files available for us. Is it already set up? Nope. All right, so let's just clone this Git repository, which is a public repository for LazyVim for PHP course. This is going to bring some. Sorry, I should have deleted this before. Let's clone this. All right, so we've cloned that repo. Now we can cd into LazyVim, into the exercises, and into our first exercise. And we're going to NVim. So let's just get this up. Oh, why is my that's interesting. Let's just clear. We come up here, and then let's open a sample file in NVim like this. All right, so this sample file is going to teach us a little bit about navigation. So each section in this file is going to show us how NVim works. So you can see here it says moving between lines using J and K. So first try using J to move down to this line, right? And then we can use K to move back up, right? So J to move down, K to move up. You notice so J and K are next to each other and right in the middle of your keyboard. Right, so you don't need to, basically your hands stay around the home row when you're navigating, making life easy. So might be a bit counterintuitive, why not use the arrow keys, but every time you press the arrow keys, you've got to pick your hand up, move it away from the main home row on your keyboard. This keeps you in the home row. All right, so we can move sideways too. You can see by using H and L. If you use L, it moves to the right, and H moves to the left. Same thing, so you've got J, K, H and L. If you just practice that, you can see that your hand doesn't need to move. All right, so you can practice going back and forward across here. So we can go L all the way along here, and H, hold it down, go all the way along here. You can jump by words, right? So let's come down to this section. Now we can come down here. We can, where's the practice down here? This line. We can practice on this line. We can jump to the start of each word. We can press B to go back to the start of each word. Or we can use E to jump to the end. So it's gone to the last letter of each word. B goes to the first, and W goes to the first letter of each word. So you can jump around. Now, here we can jump to the start and end of a file. Like if I just type GG, jumps me right up to the first line again. If I type a capital G, jumps me to the bottom. Right? We can jump around paragraphs using the brackets. So this bracket takes us to the start of each subsequent paragraph. The closed bracket takes us to the end of each paragraph, like so. And then you can use Control U to scroll up half a page at a time, and Control D to scroll down one. So that's your basic navigation. Now you're ready, right? So have a practice with that if you like. If you're following through, you can have a practice around playing around with those commands in Vim. Come back and watch this video again if you want a refresher, but we're going to dive into some configurations now. So first thing we're going to do is quit NeoVim. All right, so remember escape, colon, Q, exclamation mark, doesn't, wipes out all our changes and quits back onto the command line. how to exit Vim. Okay, so now we want to move on to understanding NeoVim's configuration. So NeoVim's default configuration, it's minimal. Right? Unlike Vim, it doesn't use a .vimrc file. I'm going to bring those notes up for you so you can read those. Whoops, what did I just do? Here we go. So unlike Vim, it does not use a .vimrc file. Can I not? Wish I could zoom more on this. Really? I don't understand Obsidian's zoom. I don't know. I've zoomed it before. Yeah, that's as far as it goes. It's not much of a zoom. Won't zoom any more than that. All right, so instead configuration is stored in one of two files. That's the old way of doing it. Still supported, but it's not the recommended way of just installing Vim scripts in NeoVim init.vim. So this was introduced as a Vim-like alternative before Lua support existed in NeoVim. The modern method, which is recommended, is to save your configs in .config/nvim.init.lua. That's so much. I'm going to let you read that. That's so much to say. It was introduced in NeoVim 0.5, and this is the preferred way to configure NeoVim. If both files exist, NeoVim will use the init.lua in preference and ignore the init.vim. Should you use init.vim or init.lua? Well, for this course, we're going to use only init.lua. Okay, so it's the modern and recommended way to use NeoVim. However, for those who are curious, NeoVim still supports the init.vim, which works similarly to vims.mrc. So if .vimrc. If you are coming from Vim, you can copy your .vimrc into that init.vim file, and it's still going to work. All right, so you can take all your existing configs from Vim and bring them over to NeoVim. Since this course is focused on NeoVim as a modern development environment, we're going to use init.lua, as I said. Okay, so let's start working on a basic configuration file by adjusting NeoVim's display and indentation settings. All right, so first thing we're going to do is open up this file we just cloned from Git using nvim structured code.php. So let's open the nvim structured code-sample-.php. Right, so now we've got this file open in Vim here. Now take note of some of this indentation. You see that this echo statement's not indented properly. This whole public function's not indented properly. This function's indented properly, but the if statements within it are not, and the echo statements are not, and this one's indented even further. So this PHP file is a little bit of a mess. What can we do with that? And okay, so you notice, yeah, there are no line. That's the other thing, right? No line numbers down the sides. So we're going to turn those on as well. Okay, so before proceeding, let's exit NeoVim, and if you've saved changes, you've got to use exclamation mark. We haven't, so we can just quit. Let's move this over here again for you. All right. So next thing, we want to open NeoVim configuration file. So we'll actually use NVim to edit its own config. But first, we want to make a directory for this. So we're going to make a directory in home.config/nvim. So let's make that directory there. Let's pop you back up the top so you can see what I'm doing. That prompt is so long. I wish I'd changed that, but here we are with this long prompt. Now we can open NVim. We can create this config file init.lua. Okay, so we just covered that config file. That's your init.lua in home.config.nvim init.lua. That's where our main configuration is going to live when we configure NeoVim manually. So we can open that, and we're going to add some settings to it. I'm just going to copy and paste those in here now. So here's some settings we're just going to reconfigure NeoVim with. Going to get auto indenting working, right? Going to turn on smart indent to automatically indent based on syntax. We're going to use expand tab to convert tabs to spaces. We're going to set the tab stop to 4 which is the tab width set to 4 spaces, shift width, so the indentation amount for, when you automatically indent, and that is 4 spaces, and our soft tab stop is 4 as well. So having set that, let's save this file now. Because what this is doing for us is it's ensuring consistent indentation, converting your tabs to spaces. It's automatically indenting new lines based on the code structure, and it sets the tab width and indentation size to 4 spaces. So what we want to do now is write that. So W for write the file, Q, press enter, and now we've saved that config. We should be able to cat that and see that that config is written to that file. Fantastic. So let's clear that now. Now let's reopen our structured code sample and see what we see. Now straight up, we still see the same thing. Okay, so it hasn't changed our file, but that's because we need to apply the automatic indenting. So what we can use is this. We can use this here, right? This gg equals g command, which, as we saw before, we can use gg to jump to the top of a file, and we can use g to go to the bottom of the file, and the equals tells NeoVim to auto-ident the selected range. Okay, so let's go jump to the top of the file, press equals, which tells Vim to indent the range, and now we're going to put G to jump to the bottom of the file. So it's indented everything from the top to the bottom. So go to the top, indent everything from where we are to the range we're telling you, which is G, the bottom of the file. And now look, all our indenting has come good. All right, so easy, we can undo that, and easy, GG equals G, boom. Indenting, fantastic. Okay. This is what we get, right? This command re-indents the entire file, making it conform to the new settings we just configured. Okay, so now that we can see tabs and spaces are mixed, leading to, well, before we're applying, we had a bit of a mess. We didn't have automatic indenting, had misaligned declarations and function bodies. Now after applying this, it's all indented and fixes misaligned code. The smart indentation works correctly in just as block structure, and all indentation conforms to 4 spaces. What else we're going to see is that now we can do things like press enter here, and we're automatically correctly indented in the right spot. Right? Bam. Same thing here. Indented properly. Right? Same up here. Indented properly. Same up here. Indented properly. Right? Nice. Very nice. Okay. Next. What have we got? Let's save those indentation fixes. Easy. This is hiding. Right, so escape, show you :W to save those changes. Now, bring this over here. All right, so now what we want to do is, instead of quitting NeoVim, let's open the configuration file inside NeoVim while keeping the PHP file open. So what we can do is we can do :E, and E is for edit. And we're going to edit .config.nvim init.lua. Okay, so we can open that file, and it opens it in a separate buffer. We've got both files open at the same time. So it means we can edit multiple files within the same session. So now we want to enable line numbers to show in Vim. So we're going to add 2 more settings to the bottom here. So we can use G to drop to the bottom. Press O, which is similar to the I for insert, right? So if we do insert, we're just going to insert here, right? But we don't want that. What we want to do is edit the next line. So we can be in command mode, press escape to be in command mode, press O, opens the insert on the next line, and then we can Control V and paste these new settings. So we've got vim opt.number equals true, enable line numbers, and show relative line numbers. So now we're going to save this config file with :W. All right, and then we want to go back to the previous buffer. So you see buffer previous, or you can use just BP for short. switch to the previous buffer, which has got our PHP file open. Press enter and we're boom, there we go. Okay, so NeoVim can be customized to, let's read this over here. NeoVim can be customized to make that process faster. If switching buffers like this feels really slow, don't worry about it, because NeoVim is built for customization, and many users configure it so that they can cycle through buffers with something as simple as a tab, a shift tab. And we're not going to dive into that just yet, but know that NeoVim can adapt to your workflow, not the other way around. This is the sort of thing that LazyVim helps with. For now, practice the built-in commands. As you get comfortable, you'll discover how NeoVim can be tailored to fit your style. So now what we want to do is reload that config. Okay, so we're still not seeing those line numbers. We just enabled line numbers, but we don't see them. So what I want to do is source, so SO for source, that config. So by sourcing it, we're going to run it, right? Live, in real time. All right, so SO this, we're going to like reload that config. When we do that, now we get our line numbers. So we've edited the config while NVim's running and then resourced it. And now we've got our line numbers appear. Fantastic. And you see we're on line 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. All right, so now we want to see about installing plugins in NeoVim. Right, so let's just get out of NeoVim completely. And now we're going to make a directory to install the plugins. So this is what LazyVim does for you. We don't need to go making these directories and stuff with LazyVim. But with NeoVim set up, we've got to do this manually. And we're going to start by, whoops, not equals. Okay, so home.local.share.nvim site pack plugin start. It's an annoying thing to have to remember. It's for LazyVim takes care of it for you. So just create that folder. And we're going to install a plugin called Vim Airline. It's a lean and fast status tab line that enhances NeoVim's UI. It's lightweight, it's optimized for speed, it provides a clean modern status line at the bottom of each NeoVim window, which you'll see in a minute. It's a great way to immediately see that a plugin is installed and working, and we can install it by cloning it into that directory we just made, like so. So git clone. There's the repository for Vim Airline. We're going to clone it into local share nvim site pack plugin start Vim Airline. So let's clone that plugin, and there we go. And now all we've got to do is start nvim to see that applied. And here we go. We've got a much more interesting status bar with colors and stuff. Tells you which mode you're in. You know, so you go, look, we're in insert mode. Now, we're in normal mode. Makes your life a little bit easier. Okay? Insert mode, normal mode. Press O for insert mode. Press escape for normal mode. So that's how you install a plugin in NeoVim. Easy. So what's next? Now that we've seen how NeoVim can install plugins manually, let's take a step back and explore more of NeoVim's built-in features. Before we dive into LazyVim, which we'll do in another live down the track, and plugin management, it's important to understand what NeoVim can do out of the box. So up next, we're going to explore powerful features like the built-in terminal. All right, but before we go on with the built-in terminal, let's look at some things like persistent undo. Now this, again, is something that LazyVim sets up for you, but in NeoVim, out of the box, you've got to set this up yourself. All right, so persistent undos. So the first thing we've got to do is go and add the settings in. Was there something here about, however, the feature is not enabled by default, we need to configure it. Right, so we're going to go add those settings to our init.lua file that we've seen earlier. Let's just get out of NeoVim. Right, and we'll just go and edit that Lua file, come down here and add these settings for the persistent undo. Right, we're going to need to make this directory by hand. So here's this, you know, that gets the home directory and /config.env, set the directory where the undo files will be stored, and then enable persistent undo. All right. Right, yeah, so here we go. Make that directory, save this, get out of there. Make that persistent undo directory. Now we're going to open a new file called nvim testfile.txt. What's it want us to do? All right, I'm going to move this off the screen for you for a second. So we're going to go enter insert mode, type hello NeoVim. I'm going to press escape to go to the command mode, and we're going to press W and quit completely out of NeoVim. Right, so let's just clear that. We've created that file. What's it called again? Testfile.txt. It just says hello NeoVim in it. And now if we go and edit that again, and if we press U for undo, it undoes like we did previously from the previous session. Awesome. Great. Right, now let's quit out of NVim. Back on the terminal. So LazyVim enables this by default. When you're using LazyVim, persistent undo is already enabled out of the box. No need to configure anything manually, it just works. So this is one of the reasons why LazyVim is so useful. It saves time by pre-configuring things like undo history so you don't have to set it up manually. So NeoVim supports persistent undo, but you must enable it manually. You need to set an undo directory and turn on undo file in init.lua, but LazyVim enables this automatically, making setup easier. This helps highlight another reason why LazyVim is valuable. So when we transition to LazyVim, you'll understand what it's solving. Okay. Let's move on to working with splits then, because this is still custom straight out of it. It's actually a Vim thing. You could do splits in Vim itself, but we'll get a basic understanding of splits so that you know that they're coming directly from NeoVim, not from LazyVim. So let's go and open that structured PHP file again. Here it is. All right. The first thing, oh God, that's annoying. The first thing we want to do is we're going to open a vertical split. Vsplit split demo.md. Right, so this file doesn't exist, but we're going to open a new file in a vertical split like this. So it's opened here on the left. Right, so but we can close that split by just doing Command:Q. Close the split. Let's do that again by creating a new file in a, whoops, it's not going to work. So vertical split, new file.php. We can put some PHP code in that, like so, and then escape and write that file. Now, this split demo file that we're going to open now in a vertical, a horizontal split should exist, but it doesn't. I haven't committed it. All right, so I'm going to open a split demo.php. So now we've got our new file open down here, which we can, right? Here's our new file. And that's another file in another split, and another file over here, which is our PHP file. 3 files open in split windows all at the same time. Let's have a look at, you just saw me doing those, moving between splits. So if you press Control W and W, you can cycle through the windows like so. And press Control W and press W again. You can see that we go from here to here, back to here, back to here, back to here, right? We can also move to the left using the same thing we used to move our cursor. Press Control and H. Control W, Control H, right? Oh, what's happening? Control W, Control H, Control W, H. Oh, because H goes down. L, there we go. And then H goes right, that's why we weren't going. And Control W, J for down. All right, W, K for up. W, L for right. W, H, W, J. You can move around. Now, it might be easier ways to navigate that. I find that a little bit annoying personally myself. But you can resize them. This is a bit finicky too, because you can do like Control W and then plus, but you got to do Control W plus, Control W plus, Control W plus. It's rather annoying, but there are quicker ways to do that too by doing things like where are we? There are other ways to resize it, right? You can do a resize 15, right, to do it all in one hit, right? And then you can reset it again too, right? With equals, Control W equals, resets everything back to their default settings. You can move your splits around using capitals. So if you use Control W capital L, it moves it across. Control W J moves it down. Okay, so this new file, we can Control J, move it up, right? Moving splits around, resizing splits, etc. And then we can revert to close all splits except for one. So let's go back to, let's just use W to jump over to this split. And that's the only one I want. We can use this only command, or on for short. Now it closes all the other splits and leaves this one open for us. Nice. And so let's exit NeoVim without saving any. Oh yeah, don't save anything. Quit all, exit. Back on the command line. That's pretty much it for splits. You know, they allow you to view multiple files at the same time. They keep reference files open while you're coding. They're useful for running terminals next to your code, which we're going to get into next. So now that you know splits, we can move on to running the terminal inside NeoVim. NeoVim includes a built-in terminal, allowing you to run shell commands directly inside the editor. So we're on a terminal here now, but we can run this terminal inside the editor. So first thing I want to do is open NVim again, and then we can use the term command like so to start up a terminal. So here we are on a terminal inside Vim. So you notice where the cursor is not, right? The cursor's just, you know, in that first row. We're not in insert mode. So when I'm pressing K and J, we're moving around. We're not on the terminal. So just like you're editing a file, you got to press I to go into insert mode, and then you can run commands like ls, pwd to print the current working directory. You can do an echo, hello from NeoVim, like so. So you see we've actually got an active terminal here. Now to exit and get back to command mode, we need to press Control / and then Control N, and now we're back in command mode and can move around this just like it's a text file. Okay. Bring the notes over so you can see what I'm looking at. All right, so understanding this Control / Control N in NeoVim's terminal mode. When you're inside the terminal mode, you can use Control / Control N to return to normal mode. But why this specific key sequence? What does Control / actually do? So Control / is a special prefix key that allows you to send specific control commands to NeoVim from terminal mode. So when you're inside a terminal buffer, pressing Control / tells NeoVim, I want to issue a command to NeoVim itself, not to the shell. So after pressing Control / you must follow it with another key to complete the action. So we used Control N, right, which was exit terminal mode and enter normal mode. So control N for normal mode. Let's go and see that again. So if I press I to go into insert mode, or I can do ls, I can do clear, you know, print directory, clear that again. Let's do it again. pwd, right? So we can do control /, which tells it we want to send a command to Vim, and what we want to do is control N to enter normal mode. No, command mode. So now we're back in command mode. The other options we've got, you can exit terminal mode and go to normal mode without changing the cursor position by using control G. So let's try that. So let's get our cursor. We'll go to insert mode and go echo hello. And we're halfway through that command and we want to exit. Let's use G. Aha, doesn't work. All right, forget that. Just use control N. And so that's how you get into command mode from a terminal. What's a practical use case for entering normal mode from a terminal mode? NeoVim's terminal mode lets you interact with the shell, but sometimes you need to temporarily switch to normal mode to leverage NeoVim's editing and navigation tools, as we demonstrated. So here are practical use cases where you'd want to use normal mode while working in a terminal. Copying and pasting command output. So let's demonstrate this. You want to grab a command output from the terminal and paste it into a file inside NeoVim. All right, so let's just go into, we're on the terminal now, and I've broken it. All right, clear. So let's run this lsalh on the command line. Right, so now we should see that output, which we do. So we exit terminal mode by doing control / control N, and we can select all the output by moving the cursor up, pressing control V to go visual line mode, select the first line, press J, and then yank it all. So yank is for copy. Right, so control / control N, move the cursor up, select that visually, control V, use J to move down, and then press Y to yank it all, which is put it in Vim's copy buffer. Now we can use split to open an output.txt file. Let's use split output.txt, right? And then we can just press capital P to paste that all. So we pasted the command output straight into this file. Fantastic. Now let's just write and quit that file. Boom, and now we're back here at the terminal again. So that teaches you how to copy shell output, etc. Introduces visual mode, which we didn't go into too deeply. What's the time? 4 o'clock. I'll have to get out of here soon. Oh, so we want to do searching the terminal output. So let's go do another little exercise where we run psax and see if Coworker is going to work in this situation. Let's run psaux. Let's just search for nginx, right? Like this. So we can do a slash. What have I done wrong? Don't press colon first. This worked on the other one. Ah, sorry, of course. / and now we can search for like nginx. And we can search through the terminal output, which is pretty cool. So press N to search, Shift N to search backwards. All right, let's navigate some large terminal output efficiently. So you're dealing with a long command output and you want to scroll up and down faster. So let's view the recursive content of the etc. directory. Let's just clear all this. There's lots and lots of output. You saw that gone right past us. This is will recursively list files under etc. So let's exit terminal mode, and then we can scroll down, scroll up, and use GG and G to jump around just like you would in a normal Vim session. So control / control N, use GG to jump to the top of the terminal output, capital G to jump to the bottom. So GD to the top, capital G to the bottom, use K to move our cursor up and go up, use J to move it down, use Control up to scroll up, Control D to scroll down. Terminal navigation. Fantastic. Let's open another file without closing the terminal. So this shows off the asynchronous behaviors of NeoVim. So let's go to our terminal now. Let's just clear that. This thing that shows your keys keeps popping up in front of it. I can't see what's going on. We're going to type ping 8.8.8.8 and leave that. That's just going to sit there and generate output. Now we're going to open up a split for notes.md. So while that's running, got to go into terminal mode first. While that's running, split. What was the name of the file? Notes.md. Notes.md. All right. So see the terminal still running down here. But we've got our notes open. So we move between the split and the terminal like this. Going to keep running, and we go up to the top. Let's return to the terminal mode and close the terminal. Right, so let's go back down to the terminal, press Control C to kill that process. Come on. Why won't it kill? Why won't that kill? Oh, insert first. Press insert first, and now we can Control C to kill that. No, hang on. Really? Yeah, it worked that time. Don't know what I was doing. Fun times. All right, exit. Boom, no more terminal. And the other way to kill that terminal is just to kill it straight up. Let's open it in a split. V-split, pipe, term. We can open it on the side up here. So we've got a terminal here. Let's do ping 8.8.8.8. Now if we want, we can kill that terminal by doing the browser previous kill. Right, kills it automatically. And buffer delete kill work 2. Get rid of it completely. We're going to exit this, get back to our filing. So we just saw how to open a terminal in the split. I just showed you how to do that. Let's see how we can search with grep, for example. Now you're going to need to understand the concept of what is a quick fix. So NeoVim allows us to search for text inside files using grep. The results are stored in what is called a quick fix list, which lets us jump between matches quickly. However, what happens after running grep can be confusing, so I'll go step by step. Think of quick fix list as a dynamic results window where NeoVim stores search results, errors, and task-related outputs. It's originally designed for compiling code using make. It evolved into a powerful tool for handling search results from grep, compiler errors and warnings from make, and linters and formatter messages, and things like PHP, CS, and that sort of stuff. So it's like a little task manager inside NeoVim, where each entry lets you jump directly to the relevant file. So let's use NeoVim's grep function to search for the word function in some files. So let's open this up. Let's just get out of this and start Vim again from scratch to be clean. Use the grep command down here to run grep command, grep -r function, full stop. All right, so there's our output. Now, see this output down here? What is this output describing for us? In the first line we see is this grep -n -r function dev blah 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 blah. All right, so what is this? This is the actual shell command NeoVim executed in the background when we ran the grep command. The -r means be recursive, so it recursively searches inside directories. This is a bit different to the one that I saw on my other machine. The N says show line numbers. Okay. And we get file names and line numbers. This prevents errors from breaking the output, and T stores results in a temporary file so NeoVim can read them. Right, so the output gets stored in this temporary file name. So we're going to see this list of matched. So here's the command that ran and this list of matched files. Right, so now, see this down here, press enter or type command Q, continue. Now if we press enter, it's going to open the first result. So it's going to open structured code sample.php at line 6 if we press enter. Okay. So let's press enter. Right, so there we are in structured code sample PHP at line 6. All right, so all right. So when we press enter immediately after running grep, NeoVim will automatically open the first line matching the current line, which we just saw. So you're now inside that file at that line where the match occurred. Now, so pressing enter jumps straight to the first match, but the results are still stored in the quick fix list. So we can manually open that quick fix list now with this command, copen. Right, so here's our quick fix window, which we can navigate this time. So we can scroll through it with J and K, and when we're on the one we want, we can, so if we want to open this result, we can just hover on that, press enter, and jump to that search result at line 19 in that same file. And we can close the quick fix using close command. It's gone. So what happens at that command? So let's run that grep command again. Right, so here we are, and we're back to this situation where we've got press enter or type command to continue. Now this time, we're not going to press enter. What happens if we press colon and type copen right here? Now we get straight into our interactive quick fix list. Right? Now, other ways to navigate this quick list, let's go and just open the first result. There's some other commands you can use. You can use next, which will just jump to the next result, being this one. So while we're still up here in this window, type control, go to command mode, type control, next, and it'll jump to the next one. Previous, we'll go back to the previous one. And we can use, so let's do next to cycle through them. Cool. And then we can use close to close that quick fix window. So how grep works in Vim versus NeoVim. In Vim, grep has been part of Vim for a long time. It allows users to search for text inside files and stores results in the quick fix list. NeoVim, it works the same way, but NeoVim handles it asynchronously, meaning it won't block your editor while it's doing the search. This makes searches smoother and faster, especially for large projects. So if you've used grep in Vim, you already know how to use it in NeoVim. But in NeoVim, it's just a bit faster and a bit smoother. All right, so let's look now at running PHP scripts. There's two different ways to run PHP scripts. You can do a one-time execution, or you can run it in a terminal. So let's start first with just the one-time execution for a PHP script. So what we're going to do, let's just exit out of Vim and start all over again for this exercise. Freshly opened in NeoVim, and we're going to make a file called test.php. And we're just going to put a little basic PHP script in there, which is just going to say hello from NeoVim, simple PHP script. Save that file. Right, and now, right from inside Vim, we can run that using this : command. So that calls out to the underlying shell, so we can pass php test.php and run it directly, and there we ran our output, runtime run, and we're back to this, press enter to, or type a command to continue. So let's just press enter, and we're back in NeoVim. So we can do that over and over again. Run the PHP, enter, we're back. Run the PHP, enter, we're back. Okay, so when you run this command, !php test.php, NeoVim executes the command in the background, but it pauses us to show the output, right? So now we're in a paused output mode, hence why we get this message. This is why you see the press enter or type command to continue. NeoVim is waiting for us to acknowledge the output before returning to the buffer. Now, unlike when we ran term before, which is an interactive shell inside NeoVim, using : just executes a one-time command and displays the result. Okay, so you can see when we use term, it's interactive. We can work with it until it's finished. But when we use this ! command, right, runs once and we're paused. And press enter and we exit. Copen doesn't work here because the ! does not send results to the quick fix list. It's just a temporary shell execution. So this is just temporary execution. So if we try and do copen, it just opens an empty, there's nothing in there to see. All right, so we can close that quick fix. I love this little status bar. It can tell us we're in quick fix mode. So that's what quick fix is. Let's close it. Okay. Now we can also run PHP in an interactive shell. So we're here in our test file again. And this time we're going to do a vertical split. This is shorthand for vertical split, VSP. And pipe that out to term. Now we've got a terminal open in this split on the side over here. So inside the terminal, run the PHP script manually. So this is a terminal. We can just run PHP test.php. Oh, no, code completion. Test.php. We can run it again. This is just shell, isn't it? It's not bash. PHP test.php. Hello from NeoVim. And that's the output we get. And we're in a terminal. Interactive. PHP test.php. So what we can do while we're in here is switch to our other pane, right? So go into command mode, switch panes, change this to, again, save that, switch back to our terminal, enter command mode, do PHP test.php, make our changes, command mode, change, ×2, save that, W to switch back, insert mode, PHP test.php, enter, runs, go into command mode, switch terminals, edit, etc. Let's go and close the terminal now. Remember, \, Control N, and then when you buffer destroy, it's gone. Okay. So why use NeoVim's terminal instead of dropping to the shell? Because I can just put Vim in the background, press Control Z, and go to my normal terminal. Right? So but it keeps everything in one place, so there's no need to switch windows. Works just like a normal shell, so you can run any CLI command. Works great for Git, PHP script, and searching files. Just a convenience thing, really, more than anything else. Let's have a look at buffers now. NeoVim lets you open multiple files in memory buffers without using tabs or splits. Okay. So let's open multiple files. We've got to create them first. Echo is file 1, file 1.php, echo file 2, file 2.php. let me turn that off. Just turn the keyboard overlay thing off for a second. Now, let's open those two files. File 1.php, file 2.php. All right, so now we're in file 1. You can see it says down here we're in file 1. So we can use like buffer next to open the other file, which is already open. We just want to switch to it. So B for buffer, B next, switches to the other one. B next should, of course there's only 2 it'll cycle, but we do B previous to go back to the previous buffer. And then we're on file 2, we can close the buffer. We've seen before how to do that. All right, and we can list all open buffers with ls. So it's one buffer open. So let's open file 2 and then type ls. Hang on. File 2. Now type ls. All right, now we've got 2 buffers open. ls, 2 buffers. Is that interactive? Let's see. No. Close that quick fix. All right, so that's pretty much got a bit of a cover of all the basics of NeoVim. Next up, we're going to get into installing LazyVim. So that's been a bit of a sesh, just getting an overview of the basics of NeoVim, how to configure it and what its basic features are. And in the next one, we're going to install LazyVim and set that up. So stay tuned if you want to know how to set up LazyVim and get up and ready using NeoVim as an IDE via LazyVim. See you in the next one. Thanks very much.